Welcome back, guys. As some of you know, I recently decided to try Manjaro Linux, and I posted a video that was very glowing regarding the Manjaro community, and they've been super helping me make that transition from an Ubuntu or Debian-based system over to an Arch-based system. Now, I really wasn't interested in doing an Arch install, only because it is quite complicated, and I would rather do it the easy way and get a system up and running as quickly as possible, but still enjoy some of the benefits of the Arch install. And so I decided to go with Manjaro. Now, Manjaro has multiple flavors. If you look on their website, they have an XFCE install, and and I think there's a GNOME install, but they have multiple community-based installs, and so evidently some of the Manjaro users basically they get together and develop Manjaro installs with various desktop environments. So I tried the LXDE version, which was super. Actually, I'm running it on my other computer. And I also did the XFCE version, which I really like, and I think that's the one I'm going to end up running full time on my main computer. Uh, I like the XFCE interface. I think it's a good mix between speed and functionality. You can find what you're looking for fairly easily. And so I think that's what I'm gonna go with the XFCE, the new XFCE version that is listed on their website, on the Manjaro website, and I think that's what I'm gonna go with on my main computer. But this is my secondary computer that you're looking at, so I decided to put a Fluxbox install. Now, I am not familiar with Fluxbox at all. However, I have heard that it was a minimal desktop configuration. It's very fast, very lightweight, and so I thought I'd give it a try. Now, most of the principles that are used within Manjaro and Arch are the same no matter what desktop environment you're using. So, what I'd like to do today is to go through uh, a basic install, which is what I have here. Now, the basic install actually I find easier than Ubuntu and especially easier than Debian. I did an install on Manjaro on three different computers: my main computer, this secondary computer, and my Chromebook. It found and configured all of the hardware on all three of the computers, which I was very impressed with. Now, on my main computer, first of all, on my Chromebook, the Manjaro install was the only the second time, only the second installation that I've done on my Chromebook where all of the hardware was configured right out of the box, including the trackpad, uh, Bluetooth. My Bluetooth headset works fine. And so I was very impressed with that because I didn't really have to go out of my way to find a way to configure these things. So I highly recommend Manjaro on a Chromebook. On my main computer, I have the Broadcom issue and I have the NVIDIA issue. Now, the NVIDIA issue was resolved right out of the box. It found my NVIDIA graphics card and it installed drivers for it. Now, in the Manjaro configuration utility, which I'll show you in a minute, they have the option for a couple of different drivers, actually three different drivers for the NVIDIA card. Now, the first one is the Nouveau, which is the open source. Then you've got the latest and greatest NVIDIA, which for my graphics card, it's 355. But they also give you the option to install the 340 driver, just in case you want to roll back a little bit. So it's just a matter of point and click getting that NVIDIA graphics driver functioning properly. Now, I'll go over a couple of instances where I think Manjaro is easier than Ubuntu, and I'll just use two examples. My Broadcom wireless card in Ubuntu is installed through the driver manager. And you select it. Usually it picks it up and you can select it from the driver manager. In Debian, I have a video showing how to do that, but it is much more involved and involves the use of the command line. Manjaro basically has a command line command that installs your Broadcom wireless drivers. Now, this particular machine does not have Broadcom wireless. So let me show you what's involved in installing that Broadcom wireless driver. All you have to do is basically install the drivers through the command line. So the command is sudo pacman, which is the Arch package manager. -s is the install command. And then we're just going to type in Broadcom-WL. Now, as I mentioned, I don't have Broadcom on this computer, so I'm not going to install anything. But as you can see, what happens is it brings up 9 different kernels. You pick the one that you're running. In this case, on this particular computer, I'm running 3.18. On my other computer with the Broadcom, I was running 4.2, the latest. All you have to do is pick the one that you're running, and it will do the rest. And so that's one thing that's, in my opinion, significantly easier than Debian, and easier, in my opinion, than Ubuntu, because you can actually tailor the driver to the kernel that you're running. So that's one example. Now, my second example of the differences in the install, my brother printer configuration. Now, in Arch and Manjaro, the printer is configured. Once you know how to do it, it's pretty easy. I was coming from Ubuntu, where I knew that I needed to go to the brother website, download the driver installer, run it through a bash command, and then through the command line configure the printer, which I have learned to do very easily. So with Ubuntu and with Debian, I find it, because I know how to do it, it's easy. But if you didn't know how to do it, I think it's harder than Manjaro. Now, keep in mind that I'm going to close this terminal window. Keep in mind that whenever you are looking for information, the best thing to do is to go to the Manjaro Forum, because they'll answer all of your questions. Now, I just had a little pop-up. Don't know if you noticed in the top left corner of the screen, had a little pop-up telling me that my system needs to be updated. And in the lower right corner, you'll see this little exclamation point. If I click that, it brings up all of the available updates. And you've got some preferences here on how often it's going to check and what type of notification. So in my case, the default is every 6 hours. And so I have it set up to check for updates, but again, these are all the defaults. You can change them. You've got the official repositories, which is the Pacman, and then you've got the Arch user repository, and I'm going to enable that because I'll show you that in a minute, but you have two options when you want to install packages. You've got the official Arch package manager, which is Pacman, and you've got the Arch user repository, which the difference between Ubuntu and Debian is that I haven't found any package that was not available through either Pacman or AUR. I have not found anything. Now, some of the packages that I use, I have had to add PPAs in the Ubuntu systems in order to download them. And in Debian, I've had to go in and modify my sources in order to be able to download them. Not so in Manjaro. In Manjaro, as I said before, it's pretty amazing, but the package listing between Pacman and AUR is so extensive that I haven't found anything that I have not been able to install, which is very nice because you don't have to go hunting for it. You don't have to go looking online for PPAs to install, and you don't have to modify your sources list, which can be a pain. So that's where I think Arch and Manjaro have a big advantage. So I'm going to close this out and I'm going to run the updates. And it's as simple as this. It's downloading all of the updates and it will install them. So I'm going to let that go about its business. And I'm going to go through a couple things that you might want to do. Now, keep in mind, this is a Fluxbox install, so it's minimal, extremely minimal. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to go through a couple of things. And as I said, this is a stock install. I did not change anything other than add GUVC View and Kazam in order to do this video. And I did configure my printer. So one of the things I wanted to go into was the Manjaro Forum. I want to take a look at the Manjaro Forum. So let's do a search on that. Now, if you go into, and I highly recommend, if you're going to try Manjaro, join the forum. As you can see, I am registered, and I've been keeping them extremely busy because, as I said, I'm no expert in Arch or Manjaro, but I like to learn, and I am learning day by day. So I went into the Manjaro forum and I asked a whole lot of questions. And one of them was my printer. And I'm going to go locate that thread so you can see some of the commands that you would need in order to configure your printer. And I'm going to give you a couple of things that you need to get into the habit of doing if you're going to do a Manjaro install, which I highly recommend. So I went to the forum and asked, hey, I need some help installing my Brother printer. First response was telling me that they have a package for that. My specific brother printer, in the user repository, there is a package that installs the drivers. Wow, that's pretty neat. But it's not quite as simple as that. And that's why I want to show you a couple things. First is, you need to make sure Cups is installed. So what I would recommend is that you install Cups. And so the only, and if it's already installed, which it usually is, it'll tell you, it'll reinstall. But if it's not, it saves you a lot of frustration trying to do things when Cups isn't even installed. So it's as easy as sudo pacman -s Cups. Put in your password. It asks you if you want to proceed. Yes. And as you can see, it was already installed, so it reinstalled. But that's just a safety, just to make sure you have Cups installed. So once you make sure that Cups is installed, basically you need to do a couple of other things. First of all, you have to enable the Cups service, which is, as I found out when they answered my question, is this command right here. So basically I just copied that. And I made sure that the Cups service is running. Okay? And then the next command here is to start the service. And that starts the service. So once you do that, then you will go to your menu. Now, as you can see, I have a printer settings menu. And as you can see, my printer is configured already and it's set as the default. But then it's just a matter of unlocking this with your password, which allows you to connect, add a new printer. And again, if you run into any issues, go to the Manjaro user forum, as I did many times, and they will answer your questions. Now, that particular printer settings menu, ironically, I did another install and this printer settings menu wasn't there. And there are many different desktop environments. Some of them are so lightweight that they don't install that particular menu. They give you the Cups web interface, which I am not so familiar with. So I went on to the Manjaro Forum and I asked, why is there no printer settings on my LXDE? And as you can see here, there is a question. Why do I not have a printer settings item in my menu? And I was told that some of the lighter weight distributions don't have it. So, but as you can see, so many responses, and they were so quick. And this is the one that helped me right here. The menu entry invokes system config printer. So what I did is I went to a terminal and I installed this package, and I put sudo pacman -S system config printer. Boom, I had that menu. So help is just a message away. Just go to the forum and ask your questions. Now, yesterday I had another question, and my question was, well, why does the community desktop distro for LXDE have the 4.2 kernel, and the official XFCE install on the website has the 3.18? And I was advised, when I put my question on the kernels, I was advised that you can change the kernel anytime you want. Okay, so if you look at Manjaro kernels, I went to the menu and the Manjaro settings manager, and here is the kernels. Now, as I said before, the hardware detection will bring up your will show you what your NVIDIA install is. But if you click on kernels, there they are. Now I'm running 4.1.6 on the Fluxbox install, and I can go to the newer one, 4.2, which I have not done yet because this is basically straight out of the box. So as I said before, I'm no Arch or Manjaro expert, but I'm going through some of the things that you might have to deal with if you decide to make the switch, or at least to try Manjaro, which I highly recommend. So if I close this out and minimize my browser, I will close that, and I'm going to close my terminal, and we'll go through a couple of things. Now, I like this desktop wallpaper, but I'm not in love with it, so I downloaded a few different ones, and let's take a look in Fluxbox how we do that. Configuration and wallpaper. Okay, now these are the stock ones. They're very nice, but I went after a few new ones. And so I clicked on preferences, and I'm going to add a location. And so I'm going to add my pictures folder, which is where I downloaded. I'll say OK. So now it added all of the ones that I downloaded. Now on the LXDE version, this is the one that comes right out of the box, which is very, very nice. I really like that. Oh, by the way, you see this over here, how it still looks green from the old wallpaper? That is fixed by right-click, open your menu, go to configuration, and W bar. That little item, that panel on the left is called W bar. And all you have to do is click on that and reload it. And once you reload, you have the background of your new wallpaper. Now the W bar, I'm not sure how I feel about that just yet, but there are many ways to configure it. I'm sure you can change the icons, you can change the programs that are installed. I haven't done a whole lot of work on that, but I plan to. Okay, so I'm going to close that out, and I'm going to go try a different wallpaper. And let's see, I think I will try, let's see, this one looks pretty nice. So we'll go ahead and leave that one for now. And I'm going to close that out, right click, configuration, W bar, and reload to get that squared away. So there basically isn't anything that you that you can do in Ubuntu or Debian that you can't do in Manjaro. And with Manjaro, many of the things, many of the issues and the tasks that you face when you do a new install, many of them are easier because you can install from both Pacman and the user repository. And let's see, I'm going to install a couple of packages. And these are packages that I install when I do any type of distribution, any new install. So if I type in sudo pacman -s, and let's do I'm going to do a few of them, and you'll see now if they're not available in Pacman, I'll try the user repository. Now there is a way to add the user repository to your Pacman configuration file, but I haven't done that yet, and at some point I probably will. That way when I do a search, or when I do an install of a package, it'll check both. But right now I've got them separate. So if I look at psensor and see if that's available, and it is not. But if I go to the user repository, it is. And so now when you see unsupported package potentially dangerous, don't let that bother you. That only means it's coming from the user repository, so it's just a generic warning because it's not coming from the official Arch repository. So I'm going to hit the defaults to install it. And it'll go through the building of the package, and I'll say yes, proceed with the installation, and now it is installed. So if there it is. Now psensor is now running. Now psensor gives me a lot of information about my system. And so I like to see the temperatures within the system, and it'll give you, in some cases it'll give you fan speed and things like that. So I'm going to configure that. So that it starts up when I start the computer, and we'll minimize that. Now as you can see down here, it is running in my taskbar. And so that is how easy it is to install packages using the Arch repository or the user repository. And so, as I said, I haven't found any package that was not available through either one of those. No hunting down PPAs, and no modifying your sources file. So to make a long story short, I highly recommend Manjaro. The community is outstanding. They go out of their way to help you. There really is no question that I've had over the last few days that they haven't been able to answer. So I really enjoy using Manjaro. Now, the menu, one more thing I forgot to mention, the menu, when you right click on your Fluxbox, this menu is configurable. So when you finish adding all of the packages that you want to include in your day-to-day operation, when you're pretty much done with all of your adding of packages, then there's a way to regenerate this menu. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off camera and add a few more packages just the same way I did. And then I will come back and we will go through the reconfiguration of this menu to add all of the packages that I installed. So I'll be back with you in a moment. Okay, guys, so what I did is I installed all of the programs that I usually install when I'm doing a new install on my computer. And now I am going to try to create a new menu. Now, let's take a look at the menu that I have. And as you can see, I've got Terminal File Manager. On Internet, I've got three choices. Office, I've got 4. Multimedia, I've got 3. Tools, so gparted. So basically, this is the menu that the default menu that came in that was generated on the installation. I'm going to follow these instructions and see if I can get a new, more comprehensive menu that includes all of the packages that I installed. So let's see if we can do that. I'm going to, it says I have to install Menu Maker. So evidently it did something, because when I ran that command it says no terminal emulator specified, will use the default. So let's close that out and let's check the menu. And you can see it's much more extensive. Do you see that? It's got all of the programs that I installed. That's awesome. Now, of course, it added a lot of utilities that I really didn't need to be added, but there are flags that you can use to generate. Uh, it says you can avoid populating your menu with terminal-based applications. Okay, so I'll do no legacy, and I'm going to leave out. I'm going to leave out the no Debian. And let's see what we have now. Okay, it looks like I can live with that. It's got everything that I installed. So I like that. That works good. So as you can see, generating a new menu within Fluxbox is pretty easy. Just have to follow the instructions. And again, it's all of the answers are available. Sometimes you just need to go looking for them. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. As I said, I'm no Arch or Manjaro expert, but I like learning, and this is certainly a learning experience. And the system itself is wonderful. It's quick, responsive, and the community is extremely helpful. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and share on social media if you feel that it's appropriate. And I will see you soon. Take care, guys.